Welcome to the show. Welcome to Through the Glass, a podcast for me, for you, for our guests. If you've been watching the show, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Today on the show, I have a friend of mine, Rick Barry, a local gentleman, a songwriter, and I'm not sure exactly what we're going to talk about. So here we go. What's up, Rick?
What's up, Scotto?
So for you who don't know, I'm only known by my last name to some folks. So that's a thing. So he's not mispronouncing my name.
Sorry, Michael.
I know, it sounds weird
Yeah.
otherwise then. Well, it depends on, I guess, who I'm talking to. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she'd be all pissy if you just didn't call people proper ways. She'd get all... That wasn't his birth name. Like, she'd get all uppity about it.
So she would say Michael, like not even Mike, or just...
Dude, if a mic flew out, it was a real problem.
If we wanted you to be called Mike, we would have named you Mike.
Yeah, she'd get mad at me for, like, people calling me. I'm like, Graham, like, I'm not sure what to tell you.
Not my fault.
Meanwhile, she's got, like, 90 names, had 90 names, called us all manner of names. It's cool how, like, old-timers keep it strict.
Yeah, well, they can... rules don't apply to them.
That's kind of one of the nice things. I already feel it happening in my own life. The sort of loosening of rules. You're like, well, I'm kind of like over the hump. I'm over halfway. Give me some slack.
Well, in your house, you got to be like, you're almost the boss. You're not the boss. You're the second in command. So you can make up some of the rules,
What, have you been like under our beds? You know how we're running shit at our house?
I just assume.
You're assuming correctly. My wife is the fucking boss. I am second in command. But we have good communication, so I think it still feels like a unified message.
Yeah.
There's not too much of like said child looking at you and going, all right, whatever. I'm gonna go ask the other person.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some.
No, I just meant that like the only person who makes rules for you is you and your wife at this point. It's like, so you can pretty much make the rules of your house.
Yeah, that's right. If I want to be happy and peaceful, I will obey and follow 75 to 80% of those rules. If I want to be happy and not continue the terrible tradition of men passing before their wives, apparently from stress.
Wow.
What's good, man? You were talking before. You haven't been out like myself as well. Like you were noodling on a guitar in our live room there in Studio South here at the recording studio. And you're like, damn, I haven't played the guitar outside of my controlled home situation in a while. Does it feel weird?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not true because I did do the one other thing here.
Oh, you were talking about that. That's
for
right.
short points,
right?
But I having forgotten about that, and that was just one song. But just to pick up a guitar and just noodle around and fuck around on it, and in a different space from where I am 24/7, was just interesting. It was weird to kind of go, oh man, this is. I didn't realize how isolated I've been. So I guess that was it. It's just kind of like it just felt so natural to me.
Oh, we're in trouble.
Sorry, guys. There's a weird square happening on your face.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, Genevieve.
Oh.
Genevieve.
Okay, I think we're good.
He
now.
was born
Sorry
that
about
way.
That. No, we're not.
So this might be one of those episodes that gets edited. I hope we don't have to. I hope
You
we
don't
can
have
just
to.
take the square off. I think those are just his glasses, Genevieve. I mean, they're big, but come on. They don't look bad.
Did you just call me a square?
Who are you calling a square, fella? Are we still rolling, Genevieve?
She can't hear you.
Can you ask her if we're still?
Oh, he wants to know if we're still rolling.
Yes.
All right, well, let's keep talking.
All right.
And it's just gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
The fuck are we talking about?
Living in a box.
Keeping our wives
Life
happy.
in a box, keeping them.
When did you start writing songs?
14. I started out playing like just electric guitar and basically like covering, like grunge songs and shit. And
Yeah, so you're a bit younger than me. We established that. So that those. Yeah. So
I'm
what
much-
albums
I'm
were you
much
like?
younger
I'm
than
gonna
you.
play much younger, like 30, 33 years younger.
yeah,
33 years.
I'm still fetal, you know.
You're like the
In my mind.
hairiest fetus,
I came
Ever.
out this way.
like a hairy cherub,
Yeah,
if that's a thing.
cherubs are creepy, man.
Well, I mean, they're round and cute, no? And they kind of resemble, I think there's a whole like sexual thing going on with a lot of that artwork where it's like, let's make babies sort of really look like, full-figured women's bodies. I think there's a lot of suggestion going on.
I wasn't in the Catholic Church as growing up, but I was in a wedding a few years back, and I was the best man. It was in the Catholic Church, and this was the church that my grandmother was, buried in, and I'd been in it a bunch of times, and I just looked up and I just started laughing my ass off, and I look at Shannon, my girlfriend at the time, and I said, "What the fuck are these creepy baby things everywhere?" And she's was raised Catholic, and she just gave me like daggers, like, "Stop laughing. Those are cherubs." And I'm like, "Cherubs? What the fuck is that?"
I don't know. What's the deal with the cherub?
I have no
Sort
idea.
of like an angel, basically purity incarnate.
If I put like a cherub mask on me and like walked into your house at night, it would be a nightmare. Like just
My kids would knock your ass out. They wouldn't even have to get to you. They'd be
Yeah.
like, there's enough of this. They've been dying to do like, you remember Home Alone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they saw
Yeah.
it for the first time not that long ago, and they're like, holy shit.
Oh, so they're like putting their like micro machines at the bottom of the stairs.
Well,
just
they've always been thinking of ways to destroy me in particular. And maybe my wife too, but like, I think that's a good, healthy, early exercise in testosterone. Like, just work it out. Just battle and destroy all. Get it out of the system a little bit, or work it out. So they've been dying to like do shit like that. They're like, what? I'm like, well, those aren't the average robbers. Not like I know a lot of home invasion specialists or robbers. But I'm like, I don't know if you could always use like the iron and...
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna. If it's got to be like Marv and whatever, like it's got to be pretty particular robbers to get away with that shit,
Yeah, they've been fantasizing on that shit forever.
You should just like, if you have like an acquaintance that you don't like, that you like want out of your life, but you don't want him to know that you want him out of your life, him or her, could be a her. Invite them over. And just be like, tell your kids, like, this fucking robber's coming over at night, so do whatever you want. And then they'll just never come over your house again. They'll be like, man, last time I went over there, Scotto and, his kids leave that house a mess. I got seriously injured. They took an iron to the face. I stepped on all these Christmas, ornaments that they had lying around.
They heated up the door handle.
Who heats up a door handle? Why would he do that? I'm not going over there anymore.
Oh, that Macaulay Culkin.
When
you started writing songs at 14, you said, I assume we're still rolling. I don't even know what's going on. Genevieve, please don't hesitate to come in and bust us up or whatever you need to do to make sure everything's cool. Don't hesitate. I don't remember when I started writing songs, but I remember like why I started writing them. Why did you start writing songs?
It's a simple answer. I mean, I basically, I only did covers on electric guitar, and then when I heard Bob Dylan for the first time that's when I started writing songs, and I just mean that like my parents bought me an acoustic guitar for Christmas that year, and I just started writing original songs, meaning ripping off Bob Dylan songs to a T, but with the lyrics that a 14-year-old would write, you know. And I don't know what caused me to start doing that, but I quickly discovered that writing songs for girls was easier than talking to them, as far as getting their attention, so that was basically, the catalyst for all of it. I think like it is for all musicians, most musicians at least,
Well, people want to express themselves. I think everyone wants to express themselves. Artists or so-called artists or self-proclaimed artists definitely want to express themselves more than the average person. It's usually to prove a point, or there's a chip.
Yeah.
I don't believe anyone if they say they don't, like if they're like a heavy artist or like a heavy writer and they're like, oh, I don't have any chip. I'm like, I don't trust you now.
Well, I had a great childhood. I just didn't fucking know it. I was a miserable kid, and I was just such an asshole until I started writing. I had like my parents who are like my best friends now. My teenage years, we did not get along. But when I started writing, they would bring their friends out to my shows and support me everywhere they could. And that was the only times we would get along, was when they were at my shows bringing all their friends, because I was such a prick, because as it is when you're 15, 16 years old, like the world revolves around you. And, but that was really the moment, like before I started writing songs. And I, like I said, like my inspiration was, finding a way to communicate, with the girl I liked or whatever by, writing some contrived, fucking cheesy song. But simultaneously, like I stopped being such a prick. I became less and less of a prick the more I just was able to dig into writing. And all those songs sucked. They were the songs that a 16, 17-year-old, but they were so important to me. I started writing, had no means to record anything, obviously, but I would start writing out the track listing for my many, many albums, and drawing the, plotting out the artwork, just like your average egomaniacal, 16-year-old kid.
Well, also, so yeah, maybe that, sure. But also ambitious, creative. I always was drawn to the kids who were doing that. Like, hey, I know we don't know any songs, but I've got the album cover drawn and a tour itinerary.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So I think that at least in my worldview, I always really liked having that person who was ambitious or overly ambitious, or however you want to describe it. Because it's like you could put like a goal to your feelings. I never had a goal on my feelings when I was little.
It was never, when I was that young, it wasn't ambition. Like as much as it was just pure fucking ego. I think I thought the first time, I heard like, when Born in the USA, when I was like, 5 years old, that album came out. And I just remember pretending to sing along with it and people clapping in the living room, right? And I went, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to be I want to be a rock star, right? So that's why I started playing guitar. I wanted to just be a rock star. I wanted people to look at me and go, oh, yeah, he's awesome.
And it was during that time, too, where like music videos, not completely, but heavily dictated sort of the image of the artist. And if you're thinking about like Springsteen arena
Yep.
era, and you're like, fuck, I can get 30,000 people bopping their heads.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I've never done that. I've never bopped that many people.
Yeah. No.
But it's so attractive, and I was drawn to it too.
Yeah, and I don't know. It shifted at some point. I mean, it was definitely, when I was young, it was definitely all about ego, and wanting, people to, my first record, was pretty much the bastard son of Eddie Vedder and Bruce Springsteen. Like, did not know who I was, like, as a artist or whatever you want to call me. At that point, I was just trying to do shit that would get people out to shows, and get people, again, bop in their head. And anyone who knows my music, like my real music, would say that I'm not a bop your head kind of songwriter, so I haven't been for quite some time. But back then, I guess that was pretty much the inspiration. It was just like, looking back, it was pure ego. And I always say to my friends that if, I'll probably 10 years from now look back at myself now and hate myself now as much as I hate myself from 10 years ago now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think maybe it's inevitable to be critical in retrospect.
Yeah.
Hopefully slightly less each time, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like...
Dude, come on. When you're like, at the next phase, you should feel better about this phase than you do now about the previous phase. I feel like we're getting very meta here.
I don't know, because, sometimes I'll see like an old video of me like sliding across the stage or something and I'll be like, pull your fucking pants up, kid. You look like an idiot. And I realize that I'll probably be saying that if I ever watch this video, 10 years from now, I'll probably be like, you sound like a fucking moron, Rick,
All right, well...
I know it. I know that on the day I die, if I live to be 10 years older than that, I would look back on that day and go, you fucking sucked. What were you thinking?
Your Lazarus self
will come back and hate the way that I died.
Well, I think we're all critical in that way to some extent, but it sort of forces the question. It's like, well, am I pushing myself? Am I constantly sort of pushing the boundaries of myself, or am I full of shit?
Yeah, I'm full of shit.
You're not full of shit. I don't think you're full of shit. I'm definitely not full of shit.
I don't feel it now.
But that's the only way to look at that. Like, it just, we're constantly, certain people think we're a similar type. You and I, just kind of, you push maybe more respectfully and gently as you get older, but constantly sort of pushing at things. I think it's important. I don't know what impact it has on the world, but who cares? I mean, our world is really how we feel about our world.
Yeah. Well, and I get that. I mean, it took a while to get to a place where I could, not care about like success or whatever. I mean, really, since COVID, it's a blessing because COVID isn't a blessing, but like that I can record from home and just send shit out, and people listen to it or they don't. I don't care, and it's just kind of like getting to that place where after 20 almost 20 years of playing music for people and needing people to buy a ticket to a show, and needing people to buy the album and whatever just to keep doing it, to go, in this day and age, you don't need that anymore. Like, I don't give a fuck if people come to see me play, and if no one's coming to see me play, I just won't play. It's fine. I'll just keep putting out the music that I want to put out, and if no one listens to it, then it doesn't matter. It's getting to the place where I think I said it when I put out my last full length, where doing the work itself is the reward, and that we're not entitled to the fruits of our labor, I think is a Hare Krishna saying. We're only entitled to the labor itself. And that's kind of how I approach writing music now. I just enjoy the process of making it as much as possible, and I don't fantasize about what people are going to think when they hear it. You know? So that's the difference between the egocentricity of, I suppose, you know, my youth as a musician, as a songwriter, and my old age.
It's a healthy perspective, I think.
Mm-hmm. In 10 years, I'll probably think it's stupid.
10 years, we're going to fucking hate each other right now. Like, that motherfucker.
I can't believe I did that fucking podcast with Scotto.
What a dick. Like, we're both going to be saying the same thing at the same time. So who's to know what's true? I agree with you. You mentioned a Hare Krishna sort of mentality about that. One of my closest friends, Mark Bennett, he was on this show, I don't know, a couple months ago, and he talked about sort of one of his favorite places to be is in India. So he'll do these pilgrimages. I think that's the right word. He's not like hardcore about anything, but he's also like, he explores things. He goes all the way with whatever he's doing. And he's got so many great stories from India of, now I'm just generalizing a population and a worldview, but this sort of more of an appreciation on the process of things. So the work, you said we're entitled to the labor. Is that the words?
But we're not entitled to the fruits of our labor. We're only entitled to the labor.
Right. And the stories he tells of sort of the peace, the calm, the peace and the happiness of a lot of the people that he's met there and enjoyed there speaks to that. I've always tuned in with that, and I've always struggled with the fact of, is this a good worldview, or am I just a lazy person? Well, right, I mean, who's not self-critical all the time? I mean,
I'm not.
Sure, of course, except for you. But we're sort of critical on each other, and I've often wondered, you know, what are my own motivations for things? With songs for you nowadays, you know, where you're at in your life and what you know about things, and having that perspective of looking back on the previous self, what sort of gets you excited about writing now? Are you the type of person who gets inspired, like flash in the pan, go do this thing, or is it like collecting fossils?
Yeah, I think it's more like collecting fossils. I guess it's, you know, I'll have an idea when I'm like going for a run or working the yard, and it's all like in my notepad on my phone, right? One little lyric idea, and then I'll have a melody idea that I'll sing into my, you know, voice memo, and then I go digging for a lyric to go with that through the countless little one-liners, and then I just kind of build on that. And I don't know. It's not like something that, it's more like a compulsion than it is something like I suppose. It's like the difference between like being a sex addict and a nymphomaniac. Like, sex addicts at least get off and still enjoy what they're doing. Nymphomaniacs are just compulsive, you know?
Is that right?
So I feel like I'm just a compulsive songwriter. Like, I don't get off doing it, but I just do it. I'm just constantly doing it.
Well, the point that we just talked about, like entitled to the labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of artists have sort of written songs about that. The sort of idea of suffering, and Michael Stipe in particular. So you mentioned, you know, certain 90s rock was instructive to you on trying to learn riffs and I guess get attention or get an eye of someone. For me, that band was REM. And it was confusing because, you know, I'm like, what's this guy talking about? I'm pretty sure he's definitely not talking about girls. So I'm not winning. I'm not going to win there with like Michael Stipe's perspective.
But you would. But you would. I mean.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, well, these are wise words, right?
Yeah.
Years later. I wasn't in that space. I really just wanted to. I wanted to be creative.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be known as creative, and maybe that's really selfish, but knowing that if I could prove it to myself, well, then it would just be known.
Yeah.
It would be real, and that was instilled early on. Do you remember that movie Amadeus?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Was it impactful for you in any way? Because I've talked to certain people about this film, and it has an effect on some people.
Yeah, I mean, no. I remember watching it and saying it was a good movie, but it didn't, like, affect me. I don't think I actually watched it till I was, like, in my 20s. Ben Feld was like, oh, you got to watch Amadeus.
I was thinking about Ben today. That's crazy.
I just saw him recently.
Let's talk about Ben.
Oh, sure.
What's he
I don't
up
know
to?
how much I could say,
Hey, Ben. I hope you're watching the show.
He's not watching this.
Well, probably not, but, trying to be cordial. Ben's an interesting guy. Ben is a talented fucking musician. I'll tell you that. A fellow who can kind of jump in to almost any situation, as you go through life and experiences. The amount of people who can kind of jump in on a lot of different things, it decreases. Yeah. And it makes it special.
I've known Ben a long time. One of my favorite Ben stories was he was in the band Turtle Soup. Remember, that's kind of back in the day, right, with the agency and Days Awake. And
I was inducted, whatever test they put on people, like, can you do a 3-hour improv jam? I'm like, yes. So let's go. And I showed up and did one of those terribly, but had the balls to do it.
And I'm not a big jam band guy.
No, neither was I. I just wanted to do it.
And it's just, but I remember, like, back, there was, it was great. We're going back 13, 10, at least 10 years, right? With the Status Green, you guys, Days Awake or Paperback Radio or whatever. And Ben was just always around. And he was in this jam band. And, he kept saying, man, if you, I said, it's not my thing, Ben. It's not my style of music. I don't care for, Fish or anything like that. Like, it's just not my thing. I'm a words and music guy and a melody guy. And we're at one of his shows one time and somebody dosed me, with I guess, some type of hallucinogenic. Right, I'm tripping my balls off, and I walk up to the stage, and he's holding his keyboard like this. He's doing a keyboard solo, like fucking keyboard solo, like it's a guitar, and he's just smiling. And I go, Ben. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm tripping my balls off right now, and he's like, yeah, and I was like, this music still sucks. And he just went, oh, like, put the keyboard back.
How dare you?
Not that I would ever voluntarily do drugs in a public setting.
I don't think I've ever been maliciously or tricked into drugs. I don't know. But then again,
well, I mean,
who would know? Just could be some, like, amazing night you had, and it was like, no. That wasn't your doing.
No,
it was crafted for you.
It's happened to me a few times. I don't know how. I'm not. I mean, I used to be a wilder person than I am now. Now, pretty fucking tame. As I won't even drink your scotch.
Let's not get into that shit.
So,
piss me off.
but yeah, like. I've been dosed a few times, and sometimes I knew who it was, immediately, and I was like, "Oh, you got me," I know now I'm about to have a whole fucked up night, and I'm not an personality like that, I'm definitely not someone who I never really felt comfortable even smoking pot in public. So like more of a private thing if I did it. And so like when I been like high in public, it's not a pleasant experience for me.
No, I'm not a huge fan of that either.
Yeah.
All my worst or best selves have been alone, in the dungeon, just in it, deep, further than you need to be. Yeah, that's generally is whatever you want. Generally my approach.
Yeah,
Although the first time I tripped, it was with a group of people. But I was young. I was 15 years old.
It's my 14th birthday when I tripped for the first time. And I didn't know what I was doing. I got in an argument with my parents because I was a little asshole, and I had these Jenko pants. You remember Jenko pants? Oh, they're the dumbest looking fucking things. Look at them after this. There's just these giant pants with giant legs. It's the last thing you would ever picture me wearing. But like my parents weren't like rich, but they got me these Jenko pants, which were like expensive, and all the kids were wearing them. But I also wanted something else. It was whatever. Like I wanted $50, let's say, and so I got had a fucking hissy fit, and stormed out of the house. And I meet these older kids in the graveyard by my house, and they go like, "Oh, it's your birthday, huh? Yeah, stick out your tongue." Boom. I wind up on the floor of this dude's house. I remember walking to the store to get cigarettes, and the guy's face was like just melting, and he's like, just the voice slow, and you got ID? And I'm just losing my mind, man. And I'm like, listen, I'm a smoker just like you. And then I get back, and the next morning I go to school. It's a school night. So I'm like, I better.
Yeah, what are you like? You're like a sophomore in high school.
I'm in 8th grade, I think,
Jesus.
right? 14? Yeah. I was still in middle school.
Oh, Lord.
So the guy goes, "Let me borrow your pants." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I'm still feeling it. "Let me borrow your pants. Those are nice Jenkos. Let me borrow your Jenkos. You can borrow a pair of my jeans, and you can come back after school, and we'll trade back."
Sounds like an after-school special, dude.
This dude stole my Jenkos, man. I went back there after school, and I sat outside. The house was empty. It was like I imagined all of it, except for the fact that I lost my Jenkos. Brand new pants that my poor mother had saved up and pinched in pennies to buy me these nice Jenkos.
That's what she gets for giving you something bougie.
Yeah.
That's what she gets.
I didn't deserve Jenkos.
Your rat ass. Just
I'm wondering
bad
when
choices.
Well, I mean, I didn't volunteer to take acid, but you should never. If someone in a graveyard says "stick out your tongue," you should not do it. And I have friends whose children are 14 years old, and that's I want to impart that. Don't stick out your tongue in a graveyard to people you hardly know.
Don't do it. When you go to graveyards to hang out with your friends, keep your mouth shut.
I hardly knew these kids. I just ran into them.
That sounds like some 14-year-old shit.
I'm sure they're dead. I'm sure they're all dead. I hope they are. I fucking hope he's dead with my Jenko pants.
Oh, that's a creepy story. I'm gonna need your pants now. So.
I just let me buy. I gave you some acid. Let me borrow your pants. No, seems reasonable.
We were in a car after this was high school, after a play. So that was my foray into being social with people, was joining the play or trying out for the play. And if it didn't, if you didn't get a part, I'll just do art, work with the art crew or whatever the hell it was called. And post play, drop acid, Definitely nobody trying to hustle me out of my pants though. I feel like I had a much better experience. I had like one of those like spiritual experiences. You had like the world it really fucked me up.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, still to this day, I have never volunteered to take acid. You know, I've been dosed with it a couple times. And that time, technically, I mean, sure, you know, it's your birthday, stick it to blah, blah. And I tripped it. But from then on, I went, I don't want to take acid again. I don't have that many pairs of pants, you know? Like,
it's definitely not I mean, it's not a healthy thing, I think, for someone that young to be taken anyway. So it's like,
no, certainly.
I'm liberal on drug use and all of that. Anyone who knows me knows that's true. But as far as instructing or giving some guidance to other people or young people, there's a lot of weight. A lot of weight comes with those things. You have to be prepared for the weight.
Well, I mean, it just, you know, like, I mean, my poor parents, you know, like, just disappeared all night. And then I show up at school and they're like, they call my parents, your son showed up at school. Why did I go to school? It was like the one day I decided to go to school that week. It was fucking, you know, and I was still on acid, you know, and they were like, yeah, your son's here. He's a little fucked up. You know, my poor parents, you know.
Yeah, I guess it's inevitable. I mean, you punish people and then you get punished. I'm sure that I'll be recipient of punishment from, you know, my children are still young, so like the worst it can be is still like pretty fucking benign.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother just today. I called my mother today and we were just chatting. I had to drive somewhere and I knew I had a block of time and I was thinking about her. I said, call my mom and while I'm driving. And we were laughing about, I am a good boy. I think I'm a good boy. Just talking about life and how things are going. And, I totally lost my train of thought, dude. I had one of those moments.
We
were just talking about it.
Payback.
Yeah, she was talking about the kids. Thank you for the assist. She was talking about the kids, and she's like, yeah, and you think that's bad. Then they get older, and it gets worse.
And then they don't call you on your birthday.
Well, she kind of was ramping up, and I'm like, oh my God, like, did it get worse with me? Is that what you're saying? And she was like, no, it's not what I meant. It's more just like you learn that. She goes, in your case, you get more comfortable telling the stories of when you were younger. And she goes, no, I don't think I'm ready for those stories. I don't think I'm ever ready for them. So she kind of like says, like, I guess you're like suffering, posthumous suffering.
So not realizing, like, your parents didn't realize what a piece of shit you were when they weren't around, but you get older and you're like, say you're on a podcast and you tell a story about tripping on acid on your 14th birthday and your parents see that and they go, huh, I didn't realize that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
He was such an asshole.
I think I was a nice asshole is what it was. I was able to be pleasant and generally following a loose rule structure, but just doing what I wanted and kind of getting away with it, I guess. I was good at getting away with stuff. I think was a skill when I was younger.
Yeah, I was not. I got caught all the time. You know, I mean, I didn't realize till, like, I thought I was getting away with being a smoker, you know. Like,
how does anyone think that they're getting away? Like, smokers, you could fucking smell cigarettes. And now that, like, weed is legal, I think people are being a little more liberal with it. You know, quick heads up. If you take a major hit right before you walk into a meeting, it's quite obvious. And in a recording studio, the ventilation is such that that smell might stick around for a while. So, got no problem with drugs, again, but just, you know.
Just a heads up.
Pick your spots.
I get the feeling that this is meant towards someone in particular, you know.
Every artist is interesting. When I was thinking about you, after we had sort of chatted, and I said, hey, man, I'd like for you to come on the show, and thank you for being interested in it, first of all. So I appreciate you coming on. Usually I keep a just like a little note card, and I'll put the person's name at the top, and then the first 2 or 3 things that come to mind, I'll jot them down. And sometimes I hit one of them. But at least it's just some sort of guideline for in case you go too far off, which I already did. I lost my train of thought before, and you were fucking like right there. Thank you.
Well, that's what the editing is for. Yeah.
Oh, the editing. So we don't edit the show. I only edited it once, folks. I figured it puts a lot of pressure on, and if you can't be your worst self, then you probably can't be your best self too.
So you're not going to take out that whole story about me tripping on acid and
everything's in, Rick. Everything's in. One of the themes, I guess, that came about when I was thinking about you was consistency. So I've known you I really don't know, actually, how long I've known you or how we've known each other, but we've crisscrossed and been friends, too, over a really long period of time. And when I think about you, it's consistent. And how do you... I'm not a consistent person. I dabble in way too many things. How do you stay consistent? And is it helpful for you, or am I just romanticizing it?
I think it's just, habit more than anything, I suppose, the way that time moves in my mind, like I'm still on the same fucking project. I'm still so I've never completed whatever mission I was on to move on to do something else, so not that I've considered myself, like a failure per se, but I just have yet to succeed in accomplishing finishing the work, that would make me want to move on. I don't know what you mean by consistent. Like
when I think of you, all right, so you have a style of your songs, a lyrical style, a melodic style, and also an arrangement style to your songs that when I listen to your music and I think about you, it's pretty fucking consistent over a long period of time. I think about you and I think about consistently putting out material. So releasing songs, albums, singles, whatevers, whether it's on my radar or not. I just know this about you and it makes me feel good.
Oh.
It makes me feel great because that's hard. And it gets harder as time goes on, I think. So that's what I mean by consistency. So it's something I think of when I think of you, and it's something I admire, but maybe I'm off base.
No. I agree. I mean, it's definitely like I have formulas and stuff that I fall into that make, I've been writing the same song over and over for 20 fucking years, basically, or I have one form of the same, it's a political song, or it's about a breakup, or it's about a dead friend, something like whatever, like those, and then you just go from there. So it makes it easy to sit down and just write. When I've tried to do other stuff, it's sometimes it's hard because when you have to rely on other people, to be in like a side project or a band. Like No Wine for Kittens is a great example of, we loved that band and we loved the music we were making, but it took a group of us to all be available and have the same vision at the same time.
You guys were doing some good music in No Wine for Kittens. Who was that? Who was that lineup generally?
It was Justin and Emily from Dentist,
of course,
and Andy Bova, formerly of Dentist. Basically, No Wine for Kittens broke up, and they just became Dentist without me.
Well, Andy
different style of music.
Andy doesn't play drums.
No, but he did originally with Dentist.
I didn't know that.
And he produced at least the first few records.
Yes, no, I'm aware of that. I have a big musical crush on Andy. I'm gonna put it out. I'm gonna put it out to the internet right now.
he's worthy of it. He's a talented dude.
Yeah, I've had like a long time.
Andy Bova.
A little quiet crush on him creatively.
We're working on a new Rick Barry project too. But
you and Andy.
Yeah, I've just kind of for my next record, I just I don't trust myself to sift through my songs and pick what's good. Right? It's never. I've never really like done that successfully, right? So even like Declaration of Codependence, Coley Bryce, I gave him 25 demo recordings thinking I'm signing to Area Records and he's gonna bankroll me to have this record with string quartets and all this shit and whatever. I gave it to him. He went, dude, just 14 of these songs are just ready to go as is. That's the record. And I'm like, really? Like, and I just don't see it, and they weren't necessarily the songs that I would have picked.
Well, it's good to have an outside, someone curating and sort of being a catalyst. Coley was that for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Shout out to Coley Bryce, who I just called the other day because I wanted his son to give my son some flute instruction.
Flute.
This is how deep it gets. This is life is beautiful, man. Calling this guy because his son can show trumpet. Trumpet. Which my son is just starting to take up, and he's like, dude, who's his son? Elijah's out on lobster season. He's a lobster fisherman, so he's got like one of those hardcore.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
I'm like, you got a moment to FaceTime in and do some trumpet instruction with my son? I'm totally fucking not in tune, clearly, with what's going on in their lives. But shout out to Coley Bryce and his whole family. All of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it was in that Elijah was in that HBO documentary.
Yeah.
It was like Our Towns or something like that, right? And there's this whole segment of him, and I'm like, he's like 20 years old, and that kid was packing the liner notes to Rick Barry albums, when he was like 6.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I still think I'm in.
Now he owns a lobster boating company. It's man. Crazy.
He's the man. So if you want some fresh fish up in Eastport,
man.
Have you been up there?
No.
I'm sure you've been invited.
I have.
All right.
I have. I haven't made it up yet, but that fucking HBO show makes me want to live there. They show the way they show that town.
Dude, you don't want to live there. Again, all respect, Coley. You gotta be a hardy motherfucker.
That's not me, man.
So you're a nut.
I can't wait.
Rick, you'll be up like on like a high rock, just sort of wilting.
Yeah.
Like a turtle who just like can't get the sun, but he's up there looking for it anyway. No, it's hardy as fuck. These goddamn red ants. All right, so I was just there once.
So you're an expert. So
I'm a
fucking
like, expert.
It's like, listen, you don't want to go to Eastport because the whole fucking place, all they have is red ants, and it's
some
just
of the most
cold.
beautiful places I've been have like these nuisance animals or insects, and I always felt
it's like in my backyard, man. I got fruit flies in my fucking kitchen right now. I mean,
who doesn't have fruit flies in their kitchen? That means you have some sweet stuff in your kitchen. It's a good sign. And if you eat one by mistake, it's not a big deal.
It's disgusting, but I'm sure I have. I mean,
well, it's your house.
And let me tell you, if it's the last glass of wine and a fruit fly flies in that, are we gonna act? You're gonna drink that fucking fruit fly,
bro. Like, I was never afraid of the tequila worm, so like the fruit fly in the Chianti is not a problem at all.
Well, for you.
All right. So what other things are you suffering through at your home? What other things are you suffering?
Just standing still has been difficult in the home as of late. I think I told you I injured my ankle just standing there, which is definitely a sign that your headed towards fucking 40, I think.
That's some old guy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you don't have a good reason for your injury.
And the cop came. I had to go in an ambulance, right? So I thought I broke my ankle. And the cop said, "What were you doing, man?" I said, "I was just standing here." And he said, "Well, listen, it's just us right now. We can make something up."
Neptune police are cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so just, that, and, pretty much it. I'm making music every day, write something every day, I paint something every day, as a rule, and to try to keep me from losing my fucking mind. And I look forward to society coming back to some semblance of what it was, and rejoining it to the degree that I had joined it in the first place, but that's basically it.
What's tell us a little bit about the Asbury Underground. So is a festival that you, along with Pat, had curated. Can you just sort of share with the world, like, what is the Asbury Underground? I think it's very cool, and I feel like I know a lot about it, but if you could kind of share that, if it's something that's still a part of your work.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we shut it down obviously for COVID, and it probably would have taken place this past Saturday. It was usually the Saturday of Columbus Day weekend, or Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. We usually have it, and so it's 2 years without it now. Last one we did one in January. We always do one for Light of Day weekend and try to help them. So I don't know if it's coming back. It basically started, believe it or not, there was a time where downtown Asbury Park wasn't the thriving business, community it is now. The businesses started to struggle after the summer, when there wasn't tourism. And so Pat had the idea. Pat Scavino owns Art 629 Gallery and was also a landlord for a lot of the businesses, and so he's close to the business owners. And
that's right.
Knew that they would start to struggle in the fall, winter months. So he had one. He just had in the art galleries. I think it was 10 galleries or 10 spots and 10 artists. The first one. I don't remember how long. Maybe it was 10 years ago, just because the number 10 is stuck in my head now. But afterwards, we went out to Johnny Max, and I said, we could make this into a bigger thing. I was one of the artists that he had on the first time. And I had, big ideas. I was like, we're going to block off Cookman. We're going to have a south stage and a north stage, and we're going to get big independent artists and headline and put all the local acts in front of big, and, so that's where my mind was going. And then, but we just slowly built it by incorporating other businesses to the point where we had, we have like hundreds of artists and, dozens of venues, all fit into like 5 hours. And Christine Fiola and me would curate it. And it was a fucking pain in the ass, and that was one of the things when I said to Pat, we need to think about the underground. He's, and he was like, I don't think, I don't know, not now. I said, I kind of miss it. How, the stress and all that. He went, I don't. It was a 2-word text back. I don't. And I went, all right. So, and I was kind of relieved. Like, we're not doing it this time. All right, we're going to wait.
All right.
Because, but yeah, I love, it's a way, for me, as I've kind of become a little less active, like going out and playing shows and trying to promote myself, as a musician. It's been a way for me to stay active in the community and to keep seeing and experiencing and staying fresh with the younger, or not even necessarily younger, but the up and coming artists who are just, starting to get out and play out and who deserve recognition. And so, we get a pretty good crowd out, and hopefully we'll do it again.
I hope you do too. I think it was a cool concept.
It catches that
shout
now.
out to Pat. Good guy.
Yeah. Now, the downtown Asbury doesn't seem to need it. You know what I mean? So it's like we did it for the businesses, and it's a Thursday in October right now, and I couldn't fucking find parking. So like, which is good. That's good for the businesses, and that's what we were trying to help them out when there was lulls. And as of right now, it seems like they're I can't speak for all of them, but it seems like they're all doing pretty good for a Thursday in October during a fucking pandemic.
It took me a little while to find a parking spot too. What's
you don't have your own parking spot? Michael Scotto parking only out in front of this place?
Oh, I do, but I let the lessers park there. It's to show that I could connect with them. So I let the lessers park there.
I like that you call them lessers.
I'm just trying to think of the worst shit I could say. So I'm glad you liked
my
it.
Minions,
Sure. What's inspiring you, like right now? So things that you're writing or thinking about right now. What's right now as far as inspiration for songwriting?
Like I said, it's kind of always the same shit for me. I think that I've this weird thing, like during COVID happened. I've tried to like focusing on all the negative shit and the politics and that. I put out a record last year that was all stuff that was written. It was kind of conceptual about the COVID experience and my experience. And
how can people hear that record?
It's on Spotify, all that shit. Ruminations from Barry Dice During an Apocalypse. And that was cool because I just wrote these songs and I sent them to Andy Bova, and I sent one to Sarah Tomek and Brother Love, her husband, and I sent one Justin and Emily from Dentist and Mark Maysfield, and they just took the song and produced it and did their own fucking thing, and because everyone has their own home studios now.
Yeah, it was really cool. I listened to that record. I like all those people just personally. And everybody did cool stuff, for sure. And Sarah recently, her first vocal.
Yeah.
Was it her first?
Yeah,
first lead.
First
vocal?
time she has done lead vocal, and that was for the Relics tribute project that I'm doing, which is kind of an ongoing thing. But,
so we're talking about our friend Sarah Tomek, who is a guest on this podcast some time ago. You should check it out. She's probably the most certified badass of all time. In fact, I was on her Instagram today, and she's out in some country playing Steven Tyler's solo tour. So rocking out to Sweet Emotions or whatever the hell she's rocking out to behind Steven. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
She's a badass.
Yep. And she's, excellent drummer.
But to hear her singing vocals is like...
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know it was her, And so that's this project where I went kind of in the interim between putting out new records. I got a home studio, Mark Maysfield and I have co-produced some stuff together, and he's really great at arranging. And I said, I want to go with this old, Leonard Cohen's first couple records vibe, all classical guitars, string quartets, female vocals, and I want to
songs from a room.
Songs from a room, and songs of love and hate.
Yeah.
But I want to do that, but cover other local artists' songs, you know. So I did a Dentist song, I did a Tara Dente song, I did a Them Vibe song, and then they all came back and like returned the favor and covered a Rick Barry song in their own way, you know. And so that was Sarah's, you know, Them Vibes version of Vixen, which was just, you know, crazy. And I heard that and I couldn't, you should go listen to it. You know, talking about singing is like, what, dancing about architecture, didn't someone say?
Well, now when I think of her now, I picture her with like the little headset microphone while she's kicking.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was, you know, one of her professional singer friends down there in Nashville, you know.
No, it was raw. I could kind of hear it's her. Like, I still like, is that? It's kind of fun. It's like discovering something. Well, it is discovering something new about someone that you've known for a while. And I feel like I've been able to tap into some of that with you on this show tonight. So I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for
what's the smartest way people can access your music, purchase your music, if that's your thing? What's the best way people can get in?
I mean, you can go to my Bandcamp or, you know, just do the normal shit. I mean, you know, if you Google Rick Barry, make sure you put music in there because there's the basketball player. I'm not the basketball player. But yeah, rickbarrymusic.com or just Spotify me. So I get my $11 royalty check, you know.
I think what's important there, folks, is that you know he's not a professional basketball player.
Yes.
Rick Barry, not professional athlete, professional songwriter, professional good guy, professional friend. I appreciate you over the years being consistent and taking my calls, and I enjoyed chatting with you, man. And thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's our show. Be well. Bye. We did it.
Yeah. Success.